Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome back to Den of the Wanderer. Today I've got another Oracle card in my series. This one is the card Spark. And look at that. Used some gold foil on this. It came out fantastic. I am loving it. So I figured I would continue on with that summer energy theme that I've been going on and channel that into this card. And you can kind of see it has some callbacks to our page about Prometheus and bringing the light. I'm just really into these colors right now, so I'm going to try not to make every card look like that, but this one for sure. So, if you decide to follow along with me, as always, use the hashtag DOW Grimoire so I can see what you guys create. And if you decide to make anything really inspired by me, I'd love to see it. I really like to see what kind of impact that I'm having. So make sure that you tag me in those creations or message me so I know where to go to see them. And let's just get into it, you guys. We'll see you on the table. Thanks for watching. Alright, so we have another one of our matte playing cards out. And I have this piece of tissue paper and some Mod Podge that I'm going to use to build the background. I'm not really sure where this tissue paper came from, so sorry about that. I think I got it in a Happy Meal. But same as before, I'm going to put a really thin layer of Mod Podge down just so I don't get any air pockets or bubbles or anything strange into there. And then I'm going to set down my tissue paper and then make sure that I go over it really well with a bone folder. And then just paint over the top to seal down that background so that we can work on top of it. I'm going to make sure that this is dry before I go on to the next stage. And because we use a really thin layer, it doesn't take hardly any time at all to dry off. Then I'm just going to roughly chop around the edges. I'm not really worried about getting the perfect trim on this or anything. I just want to clear away that extra tissue paper so that we can keep working. So the theme for this card today is Spark. And to me, I was thinking getting that fiery energy, that ignition, that start of passion. I thought that would work really well for an Oracle card. So I'm going to go over it with some spray inks I have from Lindy's and from Tim Holt, the Distress Spray. And just get a nice solid layer of color down. And then dry that off. The Lindy's will dry permanently, but the fossilized amber from Tim Holtz will not. So that's something to keep in mind as you're going along. And I'm going to use that to my advantage here by lifting off just a little bit of that color with a little baby wipe. And it's going to leave a really faint impression on the background. And I like that because it breaks up that big blotch of color that I put down first. And then we're going to use the same stencil and go back over with El Gelato and just a regular orange color. I'm going to use a baby wipe to spread that out. And that's going to add an interesting pattern to the background as well. I'm trying to use colors that evoke that fire energy to me, so that's why you see me using yellows and oranges. And this red color, which is a handmade watercolor I got from Hydrocolor on Instagram, and I will try to remember to link them below. They have an Etsy store. And to keep that whole pattern that I put in the background going, I'm going to lay it down in a really loose diamond shape. Just to kind of bring that forward because I really like that pattern and I want to keep that going all the way through. And I'm going to dry that off before going on to the next thing. So I'm going to add some water down. I'm going to put like a pretty generous amount of water down, which is going to get that watercolor moving and then that fossilized amber spray from the background also moving a little bit so that those colors kind of mesh a little bit and become less distinctive. And then I'm going to drop in some alcohol ink. And that's going to have an effect with the watercolors and move them around a little bit. Because I don't want it to be a very solid looking background. I want it to have that general shape and the general idea, but not an actual distinct impression. And then I'm going to use that baby wipe to lift off some color, just so it doesn't pool before I dry it. And then I'm going to use this Cosmic Shimmer glue. Use any glue that has a tacky finish or that dries tacky. And just put a little bit of that down and get a little fine paintbrush out and draw something akin to like cinders drifting off the top of a fire to get that whole spark sort of imagery going on to tie into the card, and that'll be our focal point. It doesn't have to be too precise because, as I've mentioned before, flames are not super exact and distinct in shape. I'm going to add little tiny like embers coming off of those, our little sparks. And here I have some gold foil, or some gold leaf actually, and I'm just going to peel off little pieces of it and go over top of that glue. Because we used a paintbrush and I applied it pretty thin, it's already at that tackiness level, so I didn't have to wait for it. If you're using it, you're going to want to wait till that glue dries clear, and then it'll be tacky, and that's when you'll know it's ready to use. I'm going to kind of rub off the excess with my finger, and then go back with a dry sponge brush to kind of buff it out and define those edges a little bit better. You want to be careful when you do this because if you can see here, I pulled off some of that foil and had to reapply, which is no biggie. That glue stays tacky for like ever, so I wasn't too worried about it. But maybe be a little more delicate than I was the first time through. And then in here, I'm going to struggle to wipe off some gold leaf. Now I've got some Distress ink in Black Soot out, and I'm just going around to do the little border. And I'm making sure that I tilt the stamp pad so that it gets farther in and picks up some grains from like the initial brush strokes of the Mod Podge I put down. And that's going to frame this card really nicely and make that gold really stand out. And then I'm just going to get a black pen out. This is a Fude Ball 1.5 pen. It goes over the top of mixed media stuff really well. So I definitely recommend it. I'm going to write down the title for our card, and that's going to finish it off, you guys. So thank you so much for joining me. Definitely, if you give this a shot, let me know. Make sure you use that hashtag, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!